have such power in this moment to affect change that maybe some other people, even politicians, don't have. Can you sense that?
Yes, thank you. And I'm really glad for that. And I think that's really important. I think also they try to be funny and they're just not, which is really great too.
Thanks for watching Hot Flashes and Cool Topics podcast. Be sure to subscribe and ring that bell to catch all of our conversations. Now, on to the show.
Welcome back to Hot Flashes and Cool Topics. Get ready, guys. Today we have an incredible conversation with comedian, actress, musician Margaret Cho. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We are so excited to have you on, and there's so many topics that we want to get into that you have spoken about over the years, but we wanted to start with your most recent new show, Choligarchy. How did that come about? I mean, the title kind of explains what it's about, but can you talk about how it came about?
Well, I mean, I am so frustrated with this current administration. It's just a nightmare. You know, you think it can't get any worse, and it just does.
Mhm.
And we're kind of faced with an oligarchy or a broligarchy, and both of which are terrible. And so I love a pun. I've had quite a few shows throughout my career that had puns. I think this is a really good one. I like Choligarchy. I think it's dumb, but it's really fun. And it's my chance to really say what I need to say. I think the one thing, these are the richest people in the world, but the one thing they can't afford is jokes at their expense. They really hate ridicule. It's one of the reasons why South Park is so effective. Um, it's just perfect, and I think it's healing to be able to laugh at all of this terrible, inhumane kidnapping of people off the street and a martial law and the National Guard coming in and the just egregious racism and incredible corruption that all this is symbolic of. So it's a terrible time, and so I think political comedy has a really important place.
It sure does. And I really appreciate your Instagram the other day on Kim Davis. I'm from Kentucky
Uh-huh.
and I don't live there now, but one of my friends growing up was a plaintiff in the Marriage Equality Act. We've had her on the
Oh
show.
wow.
We've had her and her wife on the show, and my heart is breaking for her. It is just
Yeah.
breaking for her. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate the post that you make because,
Oh,
like you
thank you.
said, yeah, like you said, it just brings we have to sometimes it's like just to get us out of this craziness. It's not really getting us out of it,
Hmm.
but it's bringing attention to it in a way that we can laugh, but
Yeah.
also do something about it.
Thank you. I mean, it's like we're all suffering from this, and so I think where I can help is just to bring a little bit of lightness and absurdity within the situation because I feel so deeply about it too. Like my heart is breaking as well over all of this, and it's just this is exactly what was going to happen. We knew this was going to happen. This is all part of Project 2025, and like we just have to have our own whether that's whatever project 2028 2029 whatever, we need our own plan in place. And so my plan is to really just keep hitting with jokes and satire wherever I can.
Well, comedy can be so effective, but at any time, because the world is in such a crazy state, do you worry about your safety? Do you worry about the audience's responses? Has that been a
Yeah.
concern?
Yeah, I am very concerned about it. I have my exit plan. I have a very big, in for Korean citizenship. So that's actually quite easy for me to become a South Korean citizen and to work there. Also, uh, the United Kingdom is a really easy place. Following in the footsteps of one of my favorite ladies, Rosie O'Donnell. And I love Ireland actually, so I think that might be a good place to land. Also, there's always Canada. Canada, our long-suffering neighbor, and they're in this with us, so that might be a great place as well. So, I definitely think about it, and I've actually not taken quite a lot of jobs, acting jobs, in other countries because I don't want to be hassled at the border when I come back in. I don't want them to ask me questions. To be detained for 15 minutes is too long. I don't even want to deal with that. So I've sacrificed quite a lot of business opportunities for myself because of just my uncomfortability of actually leaving the country. But if I need to leave, I'll leave. I I think that we have to be really careful because we don't know what's happening. I mean, freedom of speech is long gone, so we have to be sort of aware of. And I'm in a place of privilege enough to be able to get out when I need to. So I feel fortunate about that.
Exactly. I've tried for years to get my Italian citizenship, but I cannot get that consulate meeting. I just can't get it. And looking at different avenues, but so many people. I think I just saw that Jimmy Kimmel got his
Italian
Italian
citizen. Yeah.
citizenship as well. And that brings so many people. We've tried to come so far with racial equality. We've tried. It never was equality. It never was, but we made great strides.
Mm-hmm.
And what have you found now? Like just with it's like this rollback. What have you found in that space?
Well, it is. We have made great strides, and they're still great. The strides still exist. There's about 3/4 of the country that still agree with that and still want that. So it's not like we've gone back necessarily. What we have gone back on is a government that wants to erase that. And this government that looks at DEI as not the asset that it is. DEI is actually one of the greatest things about America. It's one of the things that make us so special and one of the things that already make us great, because it's the diversity of who we are. And to really think that it's gone away. I think it's like it's too easy for them to think that they've won that already. So I don't think a lot of Americans want racism. I think a lot of Americans really do like progress. I believe that. I think a lot of Americans look at the kidnapping of brown people as being unjust. I think a lot of people are pushing back, whatever their racial identity. If you're American, I think there is a kind of fairness that is inherently American that we want to feel.
It's that's true. It is just so. I think the voices that are so racist, that's what you hear.
Yeah.
That's
They're
what
the
you hear.
loudest.
Yeah.
They're
the loudest, and we've got to be loud.
And
it's shocking. That's why it's so jarring.
think
So
that's
it
right.
seems that it's so loud. Yeah.
Mhm.
but there is such power, I think. You mentioned it in the very beginning with the male ego. The more power they get, the bigger they get, but they can't take a joke,
No.
especially at their expense.
Right.
So you have such power in this moment to affect change that maybe some other people, even politicians, don't have. Can you sense that?
Yes, thank you. And I'm really glad for that. And I think that's really important. I think also they try to be funny and they're just not, which is really great too.
So true.
So we have a good advantage. We have quite an advantage. And I think they just are stumbling around it. I think one of the effective things is to fight them kind of like with their own tactics. That's why I'm very fond. I've always been very fond of Gavin Newsom, but I do love when he does a Trump impression in his social media because he's like giving them back what they give to us so readily and they can't take it. And it's so funny.
Right. Especially what's happening, was it yesterday or today,
Mm-hmm.
where he's wanting to redistrict. He's like, okay, you do it. Or gerrymandering there. Is that what's going on there in
Yes.
California? Yes.
Yes.
Fight
Which is
fire with
great.
fire. Yeah,
Yeah.
fight fire
Exactly,
with-
which is how that's the only way to do it. You have to get down on their level because Democrats have so long wanted to take the high road and we just don't have that luxury. We don't have the luxury of actually being the good people.
Right.
We need to get really rotten because these people are rotten. And we
Right.
need to get down and dirty like that. And that's what I appreciate about Gavin because he's just so game to play it in the way that they're playing it and the way they deserve to be played. So I have a lot of high hopes for him. I think he's the one person who's really standing his ground. I don't see a lot of real firebrands within the Democratic Party. I mean, there are quite a few really great people, but I think that we just need somebody who's just nasty, and I love him.
Right. We need some new young people entering into politics and entering into the world stage and speaking their truths because after a while it becomes very dry when the same
Hmm.
people are
Hmm.
showing up on your screen time and time again. So we
Yeah.
definitely agree with. So you're going to be touring around a lot. Are you ready for that?
Yes. Yes. And it's something that I always have done, and I love doing. So I'm really thrilled to just go back and get out there.
You you started very young in San Francisco. Did you always know you were funny?
Well, I guess I must have. I don't know. Like I think I have like some kind of weird confidence when I was young, and I don't even know where it came from, but I knew that I loved the art form, and I knew that it was just the truth for me. Like I realized it was the truth of who I was as a comedian, and I became friends with comedians very young, and I knew that I was like around my people. So it was the right decision. I think, in some ways, like I missed out on an education, which is too bad, but it's okay. Like I really do love my profession. It's something that I work at every day. Still, 43 years on, it's still my main obsession creatively. And so it's something that's always been there.
And I love the story about the competition, the college competition.
Oh,
Can you
yes.
share that? I love that story.
So when I was still a teenager, I lied my way into a college comedy competition, and I was the winner of the West Coast, which was the prize. The prize was to go open for Jerry Seinfeld. And so I went, and he told me that I should probably drop out of college, or because I was very good at if I decided to pursue comedy, that I would be very successful. And I wasn't even in college, so it was like perfect. So I was like, oh, that was such a vote of confidence. And he's still my really good friend now, and I'm just so honored that I got that kind of strong message when I was young enough to really like appreciate it and go for it. That's a great thing. So because of that, like now when I'm around like young comics, I always make a big point of encouraging them and telling them what I loved about what they did and being really on their side, because I think like when somebody established really takes your number and takes your side, and in that it means so much. So I really feel that.
And I know that Bowen Yang and Matt Rogers, my daughter is like such a fan of theirs. She's
I
gone
love
to
them.
the
Yeah.
Lux Culturistas Awards,
So
and
good.
I love them. I love them
They're the
too.
best.
And I love too how Bowen looked to you
Yeah.
as inspiration. So I think
Yeah.
that is really incredible.
It's incredible. He's my baby. I mean, they're all like Bowen and Matt and Joel Kim Booster, and I mean, there's so many young queer comedians that are like my children. So I mean, I don't have children, but this is like the next best thing. They're my babies.
And you were great in Fire Island
Oh,
with them
thank
too.
you.
So
Thank you.
yes.
When you were starting out and you were getting this momentum and you're getting the buzz and a lot of responses, and then you go to television and it like flatlines, everything is criticized about you. What was that like to all of a sudden shift into this world where you're not enough, where you're almost like going great, it's too much, it's you're just a wonder, and then all of a sudden, wait, you're not this, you're not that, you're not what was that like?
It was really hard, because I really identified and felt so strongly within the role of the prodigy. And I think that it actually is a carryover from really young childhood, because when I started, I was 5, 6, 7, I was playing piano in classical music concerts and, like these recitals. And I was a very good pianist when I was a very young child. So I just I wanted the role of the prodigy, child prodigy so much. And then, because I was such a young comedian, I was like, oh, I'm a child prodigy. Like I identified in that role so much. So when that wasn't there anymore, I didn't know who I was. So very like crushing when you have an idea of yourself and then other people don't back that up. And so then it's like then you're sort of left clueless, like who am I? And it was like mostly like identity crisis, like, oh, I was a prodigy, but I guess I'm not. And then what does that even mean now? And so but it was also good because it forced me to really assess what I liked about comedy. Like, what do I like about this art form? Well, actually, I don't think I can live without it. Like, I could probably live without television, but I don't think I could live without doing stand up comedy because I had to keep doing it. And also, I was doing stand up comedy about my experience on television, and that was really therapeutic. So it was all really an important bed to fall back on, this like world of stand up comedy and the art form. And it gave me something to write about, which actually was the ultimate gift. So, like it did turn out the right way. I think that ultimately now I probably have a longer career because of what happened. If the show had become extremely successful, and I think I would be like doing golf tournaments with Trump. Like I might be mega. Like you know what I mean? Like I might be like that's what scared. Like I might be doing golf tournaments with like Dean Cain. Like
Oh no.
I definitely see like there is a side of me like maybe I could have gotten a really easy start in show business and then just kept riding it and then didn't they took it for granted and didn't work on the art form. Didn't work on politics, didn't work on anything. I don't know. All of the real work as a comic, really good stuff, didn't come until my like 30s. I was still okay. I was like a fairly good comedian in my 20s, and but I was really good in my 30s. So I don't think that would have happened if I hadn't experienced intense failure. So ultimately now I realize, oh, that was probably the best thing that could have happened. But back then it was absolutely devastating.
Oh, goodness. I mean, it was. And I remember when it came out because I'm trying to think when I first saw you on TV, it was pretty, it was a long time ago. And I think we were the same age. So
I'm 56.
oh,
So
you're
yeah.
We're
younger than
older.
me.
We're
You're
older.
younger than us. Yeah.
57 and 58. So there you
Yes.
go.
Yeah. But I
Right around.
remember one of your specials. I remember just a story about boots. Like, and I bought these boots.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that
Yeah.
story. And so, I mean, you were on a Bob Hope tour, is that correct?
Yes.
That is
He
amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. It was he used to do a show around Christmas called the Young Comedian Special, and he would book all of these like sort of young comics. And you know uh when it was on, it was me and Dana Gould was on there, or Caroline Ray was on another year. And I did it 2 years in a row, but that really helped me a lot. And he was so old. He
Yeah.
was like he would do comedy, but they would film him doing like one word at a time, and they would edit it together in the booth because he was so, I mean, mentally, like there was so much cognitive decline. He could not actually say a complete sentence. Um, Much like Trump, it was a word salad coming
I'd
out all the
rather
time.
have Bob Hope right
I
now.
would so much rather, so much
Yes.
rather. But they would actually edit together his comedy monologues where they would be seamless and it looked really good. I remember being there, and Phyllis Diller was there. Phyllis Diller was so sharp and together. I mean, I think she must have been significantly younger than Bob Hope, but they sort of seemed like from the same generation. They seemed like these older people, but he was absolutely ancient.
Oh my, that to me is amazing. Just completely, how many people your age actually got to work with Bob Hope and Phyllis Diller?
It's really incredible. Well, I was around at the end of the golden era where you would see Milton Berle around, and they would say, "Don't park in Milton Berle's parking space, whatever you do." Like that was a big thing because there was an old Friars Club in Beverly Hills, which I got invited to. They always wanted to have like younger comedians around, and so yeah, Milton Berle was like very showy guy and very powerful, but God help you if you park in a space. So I would always see people like that, or like Steve Allen, like doing comedy sets like around. It was just such a normal everyday occurrence. So yeah, that old era of Hollywood, like going to parties and being on the toilet and Shirley MacLaine walking in on you. Like it's like that kind of
Okay.
very old Hollywood existed still on the periphery of where I was. So, I was honored and able to be a part of it.
That's amazing. With when you were gaining popularity, and I know there weren't a ton of women comedians, but still it was past the beginning of Saturday Night Live. So you were starting to get some women in comedy and their names going around. Was it very hard for you in areas where it was male dominated?
Yes and no, because I don't know if it was hard. Like I mean, it's weird because I kind of like know that I was given opportunities because I was a woman, because I was Asian American, because I was young. There were things about me. I think when comedy, the things that make you different are currency. So I was really wealthy in identity. And so in that, it became almost easier for me to get through. I don't know if I was a white woman, it would have been as simple. If I was a little older, I think it would have been harder. I think because I was just such an anomaly, an odd thing, like what does this kid want to do? So there was a bit of ease kind of going into things because people were kind of curious. But I will say though, like a lot of my male peers, people who started around the same time as me, I I look to their success. It's like really astronomical compared to mine. Somebody like Ben Stiller, which we sort of began around the sort of same thing, and he has a completely different career. I mean, he's not a stand-up comedian, but he has a completely different career, and it's like I don't know if I would have that if I was maybe I would have that if I was a man, and if I was a white man. Um, I don't know. I mean, I know that there is a lot of gender disparity. I know that there is a lot of unfairness, but I think that the tendency for me is to more look at the opportunities my gender gave me in this case, just because it just seemed like an advantage at that time. But it's not to say that there were opportunities for women. There weren't. Um, we had to force them. Um, but what would happen is like you would have one woman per show, and it just ended up being me um, all the time because I was kind of just willing to physically be there, but also I was just so different. And I
I've
also, oh, sorry.
oh, go ahead. Go
And
ahead.
I wasn't that pretty. That was all because there was also the other person around me all the time that didn't get a lot of like respect was Sarah Silverman because she was so beautiful that nobody took her seriously. And she's hilarious. But when she was like 17, 18, can you imagine? I mean, she's beautiful now. But back then, it was like, oh, who's this? Like, there's a resentment that people have towards beautiful girls in comedy. And I was not a
Wow.
beauty. So there was like a really easy street, easy street. Like, but of course, she got the recognition of she's a massive star. So, of course, it took a little bit. But it's like that thing of you would, when an audience is faced with like a beautiful young girl, comedy audience is faced with a beautiful young girl, they're very like, it's misogyny. It's
Mhm.
like that takes over. Like she couldn't possibly have anything of worth to say,
Right.
And of course, I never thought that, and I never experienced that. But
Well, I do. I know Joan Rivers was a mentor, and I remember hearing her say that on shows. You can be pretty, but beautiful. I remember her saying, "You're not going to find a beautiful female comic."
no, no, very
And
rare.
she's, you can be pretty, but are you beautiful? Which is so, now I think you're pretty. So there,
Thank you. I do
but
too. But
yes,
thank you. But I
yes.
I think that it is like like, and I think Sarah Silverman is the exception. I find her really beautiful, and I think that's what made it harder in the beginning. But also maybe it made it easier because she was such an anomaly. Like maybe that is the exception to the rule, because people were so sort of floored by her beauty that it was like, oh, I don't know. Like it's hard to say. Um and of course over this 40 years of a career, it's like who even knows. But yeah, the path is different for women, and so much of it has to do with like looks. And I do think that like their men's handsomeness is an asset for them. Like they don't have to worry about that because people still go along with it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's I was thinking about, I can't
Did you
remember what I
just
was going to say about the
brain
beauty.
fog moment?
Yeah, but I was about, I know what I was going to say. I know Tina Fey's book brought up another thing when women say things and they're funny, and some people might think they're crass. And I love that about Sarah Silverman and different people that will come out and just say it. I was reading Tina Fey's book, and I believe Amy Poehler had said something in front of Jimmy Fallon, and he kind of cringed. And Amy let him have it, just like,
Mhm.
hey, no, you say this stuff all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
It's
And
so funny.
I do like that about, I remember Sarah Silverman, watching her show, and my kids, and I probably wasn't a good mom, but I don't care. I let them watch it too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, she would just say the things like that.
She's
So
the best.
Yeah.
you kind of accepted that societal norms were not going to apply to every comedian and every job and every acting job that you got. It seemed to be more natural for you in your 30s and 40s, but I noticed in some of your conversations, and I loved when you talked about this, that some of your decisions were more hormonally based or
Yeah,
driven when you were
yeah,
younger.
always.
And once you
Yeah,
say goodbye to the hormones, it's like your authentic self kind of
yeah.
grows from that. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. Well, like a lot of times, like I'm making these decisions based on, do I want to take this job because I might have to like leave this relationship? I don't know. Like I might, I don't want to like travel right now because I'm seeing somebody and I want like relationships, like that kind of stuff took so much more precedence over things that might be really helpful. Like I just made choices that I wouldn't necessarily make now, having a clear head and no hormones ruling my sort of emotional decisions. Like my hormones and my emotional life are totally separate, whereas before they were intertwined. And I thought they were supposed to be intertwined. But now, like, I'm just so clear headed about everything. It's really weird. Like, menopause actually gave me the motivation to be myself, which is so I never realized that's what menopause was for. But I don't think that many people do. But it's like, oh, I'm me now. Like I'm actually me. Before I was this kind of baby making vessel. And of course I don't want children and I never have, but still, even though I didn't want them, I was still making these decisions based on my biological availability as a mother. It was very coded in like having kids, even though I wasn't planning on it. So it was going against my nature.
Right. We've heard so many women talk about that. It's like when they hit 60, it's like this magic thing happens, or it even could be a little before, but it is amazing. And I never really thought about it, but it's like those hormones are gone.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's time for me. And now you don't care. You don't care. You're like,
You
okay,
don't
I don't
care.
care. I'm walking out here with the dog in my pajamas and
Doesn't
I don't
matter.
care,
And
And
I mean, it's like you don't fear judgment. You just think about, well, you care about your own judgment. You care about your own opinion more than anything else, which is so powerful. And I mean, it's not really like hormonal because I do take, I'm on hormone replacement, which I love. I like really believe in it. But the thing about the hormone replacement, it doesn't affect my mind. Like it just affects my body. Like it doesn't affect my decision making. It doesn't inform my decisions. It doesn't sway me any other way. Like it's the hormones have helped my no hot flashes. Like the hormones help my hair. The hormones help my insomnia, all these things that are like perimenopause, menopausal symptoms, that the symptomatic things are really helped, but it's not, you're not burdened by the emotional weight of like hormonal thinking.
You've said that you thought menopause was one of the best things that ever happened to you. How was your perimenopause experience? Because you've also said brain fog, you felt like an etch a sketch, a human etch a sketch.
Yeah, I forgot everything. You like take a step and everything's like erased. Um, Perry was weird because I would just like have a really emotional outburst and I didn't really know why. And also, I sort of would go through periods where I'm like now, like I just didn't care about stuff. So I'd have like good periods where I was just on the other side of it. And the I think what helped me the most probably it was just getting regulated, getting my hormones regulated, getting on, regular, like a good dose of estrogen, good dose of progesterone, little bit of testosterone, where it helps and can leave that behind as well if I need to. That there was just awareness around like if I figure out the right sort of system of where to go helped. But um, I'm fortunate in that it didn't last that long because compared to I think the menopause started like a little bit earlier. So now feel much more stable. It's been a while that I've been feeling very stable.
Right. It's wild. They can last 10 years. I mean,
Yeah.
Perry can last 10 years
Yeah.
and it is amazing. I'm on hormones as well. And my little patch, and I've got all this stuff and it does make a difference. But it is another thing too, was with relationships. And I think I've heard you say that right now you're just kind of not interested.
No.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
And I think that can happen. I mean, it
I think
happens,
a
Yeah.
lot of women who are postmenopausal are very content with finding the joys in other ways, whether it's gardening, I know you love to garden, or
Mhm.
friendships.
Yeah.
That sexual tension isn't really there for a lot of women.
No, no. I mean, it kind some in some of my relationships it still exists, and that's okay, and that's kind of fun to have around, and that's fine. But I don't want to pursue it into anything else. Like I love to have that sort of frisson of like romantic interest, and that's there, but it's safe because it's not going to go anywhere, which I'm so relieved. Like I don't want to shave my bush. Like I don't want
Yeah.
I don't want to have somebody in my bed. Like I don't want except my cats and my dog. Like I don't want um to meet somebody new. Like I don't want like I mean I'm open to it happening and I'm open to the side of idea of like romance, but it's like I like the sort of flirting and having sort of a space around it, like the possibilities. And there is stuff there, but I do not pursue or want another relationship. I don't think. We'll see.
Right. Yeah, you never know, but we hear that from a lot of people too. And like Colleen and I have both done a whole talk about we're both married. We've both been married for a long time, but we've both decided if something happened to our spouses.
Not
I'm like,
interested.
nope, not interested.
Yeah, I mean, like I think it would be okay to be married and then like and to be settled into like a family with a partner, but um now I have been so like I've been in romantic relationships my entire adult life and I've never been happy. Not once, ever. And that's saying something. Like I'm like, maybe I'm not supposed to. Like maybe I'm not supposed to. Like the happiest I've been is being alone for the last several years. So that it's an experiment that's going really well.
Yeah. And a lot of women say that at this age. They
Mhm.
really embrace their alone time. I mean, I do. I do. My
Right.
husband retired a few years ago, and I'm like, don't you have to be out of town? I mean, don't you have somewhere to go? I mean, I love him, but it's like just a few days, go to the
Right.
bathroom with the door open, just something like that.
I just love solitude, and I didn't realize that I would because I was so afraid of it, of what it might mean. So I think in solitude, there's like this thing, especially in the '90s, they would be like, "Oh, you're gonna die alone. You're You're going to end up alone. And that fear was sort of pounded into us, like you got to take what you can get and then settle for what you have and make it work, because what if you're alone? And then, but now that I'm actually legit alone, I'm like, oh, this is actually much better than being with anybody ever has been. So I really like it.
And you're open to whatever happens, which
Yeah,
I think is
Yeah.
great. It's
yeah,
that pressure isn't there anymore, that
yeah.
somehow your value is measured by another person. And you have said that you think we actually increase in value as we age.
Yes, we do.
And
We
why do you
absolutely
think
do.
that?
Well, we have wisdom and we're making our own decisions. Like that's like the biggest part of it. It's like finally, oh, we're actually calling the shots from inside. It's not our, uteruses. It's not our like fallopian tubes calling the shots. It's us. It's very different. So when you come from this grounded place, then you know what you want. Then you're operating on all cylinders are firing. Like it's like everything is prime. We're just in a great place to live. And so we got to enjoy that.
Right. And it's such a good, I think it's a great model for the younger generation too, to know you've got lots of options out there.
Hmm.
You don't have to follow this path.
Right.
And there's lots of women out there that are doing it,
Mhm.
and they're great examples. So
Yeah.
just like you.
Why do you think we didn't hear? Like Bridget, I always say that aging is kind of the best kept secret because women never talked, like it was always a negative connotation. If you watch the media, obviously aging is not a bet. You need anti-aging cream, you need to do this, but it can be such a powerful, peaceful time of life that I think it gets a really bum rap. Why do you think that is? Would you
I think
agree?
I agree. I agree. I think because it doesn't sell products. Like if you're fearing aging, it's a big market for you to buy into that fear. It's a huge market that corporations don't want to lose. Of a society that's fearing the loss of youth, it's like we need to buy into that. That fear is something that's cultivated by society to keep it going financially. Um, and also, it's this idea that women have to be biologically viable in order to have children, in order to matter. And that's also not true either at all. Um, so I think it's a combination of misogyny that's baked into our society, our culture, that's making a horrible comeback now, you know. Um, but it's also just sort of like maybe we haven't been talking to each other. We haven't been talking about it. I know there's been a lot of women in menopause who've been happy this whole time. We just never asked, or they were not told, or they were not inspired to tell the secret.
Right. And like I always said, I'm happier than I've ever been
Yeah.
right now.
Right.
And like we said, no one said that this time of life was going to be this happy.
Right.
The best kept secret.
It
The
is. It's
best.
insane. Yeah.
How important are friendships to you now?
Oh, hugely important. But healthy, good
Mhm.
friendships, like what's really solid and what's really meaningful. And what's great about that too is they're friends that I've had my entire life, and that we can go back and like our lives, and they don't have to be like a constant either. It's like we can go years without talking and then suddenly see each other, and it's like everything's there. So that's what's wonderful about friendship, is that it's enduring. Um, and also, of course, I have my everyday friends that I see all the time, which is great as well. But yeah, friendship is that's a wonderful, important part of all of this.
How was that during COVID? Were you able to keep busy and active and working or?
Yeah, I didn't do a lot of touring, so it was the first time in like 35 years that I had not toured. And it was really weird. And that really gave rise to my gardening, that gave rise to getting cats. Now my life is like so much about treasuring my home and being part of my home, where I was just living out of suitcases for a long time. I mean, I'm still very happy to go on tour and still very excited about it, but I spend so much more time at home than I did, and I'm really appreciative of that. Um, and friendships were definitely key during the pandemic. Having a pod and having people that I was just close to that I got to see definitely kept me going. And then building other relationships through Zoom, through FaceTime, through, texting, all of that. It gave rise to a lot of other ways to communicate, which are still very much active now.
And I know that you're a very big activist too, that you really do really speak out for all kinds of communities, LGBTQ communities. How is that going, and what else can we
It's good.
expect?
It's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a tough road. This administration is trying to erase trans people from existence. It's really a nightmare. Just today or yesterday, the gay marriage thing, all of this is truly scary. So it's about really getting very active with it, getting very vocal about it, getting very proactive wherever we can. But yeah, it's really scary.
And that's even, Bridget's friends who were the plaintiffs in Obergefell, one of the five couples, they even said if we have to fight again, we will do it. We don't
Yeah,
want to.
yeah,
We want the younger generation to step up and
yeah,
take control. But if we have
yeah,
to fight, we will.
We'll
And
do
they're
it.
yeah.
such an inspiration. They
It's
truly are.
wonderful.
They're
It's
such an
wonderful.
inspiration. What would you like to see for the next, you're about to getting closer to your 60s. What would you like to see happen over the next few years in your career, in your life?
I would just like to move more. I'd like to work more. I'd like to do another comedy special. I would like to make some more music albums. I would like to travel more. I would like to do more television. For me, it's just about staying active and staying working. Um, and I think that I would like to keep doing that for the rest of my life, like Joan Rivers did. She's one of my big heroes and my good friend, and that was a perfect example that she sort of set out for me, and I really follow in her footsteps that way. So yeah, I want to keep on going.
How devastated were you during that time when she passed? Because it really wasn't expected.
It wasn't her time. It 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 wasn't right, and it was an accident, and but any of us could go anytime. So she really lived very fully. Um and that's what I appreciated about her. She wanted to make the most of every moment, and she really did. So I was proud of the way that she lived to the very last day. So you know, I don't think she would have had any regrets. I don't think she would have, but it, it was really a terrible, because that whole time, that whole like couple of weeks, it was her, it was like Robin Williams,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
was like a very dark time. And you know but with Joan, like, I think that she led by such great example um of how a woman should be, and I love that. So I always carry her inspiration with me.
And she,
I got to see her that summer right before it happened. That was the one concert I got to, or show I got to see her at. And we've had Melissa on. And
right.
Hmm.
And I actually,
yes,
when she would do Atlantic City, my parents owned an amusement park, so they would bring Melissa over and Joan over
Wow.
during that time. And I went to see her show. I was maybe 12, and I was
Uh-huh.
like, am I allowed to listen to this?
I know, it's so crass.
But I loved it.
Yeah.
And I had such respect for her strength and her fortitude. Like she was I loved the story of her having all of her jokes in the file cabinets and just being such a professional in what
Yeah.
she did. And so
Yeah.
I do you see yourself trying to be that inspiration for the new comics coming up?
I hope so. I would like to be. That would be great. I think it's just, a matter of just like being there, which I try to do. And I always try to collaborate with young people and, get and do things with them, which is really special. So yeah, I would love that.
Well, we hope your show comes to Nashville. I don't
I
know
know
who
Yes.
it's
else.
coming. Is it coming to Knoxville? I
I
feel
think,
like it
yeah,
is.
it is. It is.
I
Yeah.
think it is.
Definitely things are being added all the
Oh,
time. So
good.
it's not completed, but I'm sure I'll make it to Nashville because it's one of my favorite places to play.
Oh,
We
good. Oh,
we love it
good.
here. So please
Yes.
let us know because we'd love to come
Yes.
see it. Thank you.
Yes, for sure.
Thank you so much for coming on. This was a wonderful conversation. Thank you for everything you're doing, both
Thank
in your
you.
personal life and political.
And yes.
You're such a wonderful voice for many communities, and we appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Thank you.